If you search for El Salvador and Mayan, this is the place that will appear time and time again. It's the centerpiece, the landmark every tour company proudly includes on its itinerary. And it's no wonder why. What stands here is not merely a site. It's a testament to an ancient civilization's enduring presence, etched into stone and memory alike. Tazumal rises from the heart of present-day Chalchuapa, just north of the larger city of Santa Ana. A quiet monument, anchored in an otherwise ordinary streetscape. It forms part of the expansive Chalchuapa archaeological zone, a region layered with history and dotted with pre-Columbian remains spread across the surrounding landscape. Much of this ancient world lies hidden beneath the modern city itself, much like Communal Huyu beneath Guatemala City. Its foundations buried under homes, roads, and daily life. Other Maya structures still surface beyond official parks, standing in cemeteries, tucked into private land, or emerging unexpectedly amid coffee plantations. Tazumal sits at the end of one of Chalchuapa's main avenues, enclosed by a simple fence, but never truly set apart. You see it the moment you step out of your car. Ancient, unmistakable, and woven seamlessly into the present. This is the first time I've been able to see the Mayan ruins from the street. Entry to Tazumal costs $5 for foreign visitors, a modest fee for access to a place so deeply rooted in history. The grounds are carefully maintained, grass neatly trimmed, flowers and trees thoughtfully arranged, and benches placed throughout for quiet moments of rest and reflection. Shaded corners offer welcome refuge from El Salvador's relentless sun, inviting visitors to linger, sit, and absorb the presence of the ancient structures at an unhurried pace. Tazumal translates to place of the burnt, but what exactly was burned? Did structures go up in flames? Was there some type of human sacrifice where people were offered to the flame? Was it intentional, as in part of a ritual? Or was it a devastating catastrophe? As always, there are more questions than answers. It's surprisingly easy to walk right past this little guy at the entrance, but don't. This crouching feline is the Piedra del Jaguar, carved from fine-grained andesite and captured in dramatic high relief. He may look compact, but he's all muscle and attitude, frozen mid-prowl like he's guarding the site itself. This jaguar is proof that the Chalchuapa region was a serious power player. Sculptures like this reveal advanced stoneworking technology, early systems of writing and symbolism, and the political clout of a civilization that knew exactly how to leave its mark. The jaguar is just the beginning. This boulder appears to capture a lone warrior mid-stride, weapon in hand, poised between motion and intention. Whether he is hunting game or standing ready for conflict, the carving suggests vigilance, skill, and purpose, a figure defined by action.
I've barely made it onto the site. I'm still at the entrance, and there's a giant boulder that bears resemblance to the Olmec style. The Olmecs were one of the earliest civilizations in Mexico. So really before I even enter the site, before I enter the museum, I'm presented with evidence that Tazumal played a huge role as a cultural crossroads.
Welcome to the museum. Small in size, but absolutely packed with time. And when I say time, I mean 3,000 years of it. Before this place was a park, before it was a monument, before it was even a museum, this land was already busy. People lived here continuously for millennia, farming, trading, building, burying their dead, rebuilding on top of what came before, over and over again. That's why the Chalchuapa region is one of the most important archaeological zones in El Salvador. The name itself comes from Nahuatl roots and roughly translates to Green River, fitting for a place that kept attracting people back, generation after generation. Tazumal sits right in the middle of Mesoamerica, a massive cultural world that stretched from southern Mexico all the way down to parts of Central America. These weren't identical societies, but they shared big ideas: corn agriculture, cacao, hieroglyphic writing, calendar systems, ball courts, stepped pyramids, and markets that buzzed with activity long before Europe even knew this hemisphere existed. Now, let's talk about how we know all this. The first major archaeological work here began in the 1940s, led by Dr. Stanley H. Boggs, the man this museum is named after. Boggs excavated the massive pyramid outside, along with surrounding structures, ceramics, and burials. And when I say burials, I mean dozens, both individual and collective tombs, carefully placed within the architecture itself. Over 10 years of excavation, archaeologists uncovered stone sculptures, incense burners, jade, ceramics, burial offerings, and zoomorphic carvings, objects that tell us how people lived, worshipped, traded, and honored the dead. And this site mattered so much to Salvadorans that in 1947, before the museum even opened, it was officially declared a National Historical Monument. Later on, the main pyramid became so iconic, it appeared on the 100 colones bill, El Salvador's currency, before adopting the US dollar in 2001. So, if you grew up here in this beautiful country, chances are you carried Tazumal in your wallet. This museum, inaugurated in 1952, was built to protect and explain that legacy, to place Chalchuapa and Tazumal into their proper context, not as ruins frozen in time, but as part of a living story that stretches from the pre-classic period through the classic and post-classic eras. Every object here whispers the same truth. El Salvador didn't begin in the colonial period. It didn't begin with borders or flags. It began here, layer by layer, culture upon culture, on land that remembers everything. So, when you visit, take your time. This place has waited 3,000 years for you to arrive. The most prominent feature of this site is this majestic, multi-tiered pyramid, rising to approximately 75 feet. What we see reflects a succession of construction phases, each layer speaking to a chapter in the site's storied history. This principal edifice rises from an area colloquially known as the Temple of the Columns. a name echoing its once ceremonial halls. From its base extend broad platforms, the most imposing of which is called the Great Platform. Built mainly from hand-shaped adobe bricks, stone, and packed earth, it didn't appear all at once. Every major event meant a renovation. Walls added, stairways reshaped, platforms expanded. A trench dug in the 1970s revealed that beneath the surface are 3 earlier platforms, rebuilt and modified at least 7 times before being buried to create the enormous base that now supports the main pyramid. In short, this wasn't one build. It was 1,000 years of upgrades. Ascend the side staircase to discover an expansive terrace. All buildings here face west. We do not have access to the western-facing staircase. But on this same level stands a temple poised upon a narrow ledge, its summit crowned by yet another sacred structure. The discovery of numerous human burials within this precinct underscores its importance, hinting at a role both sacred and dynastic in nature. Would you visit Tazumal? Let me know in the comments. While you're at it, please click the like button. It helps more than you know.
Offerings and sacrifices were laid to rest in a pit here, acts of devotion cast into the earth.
Tazumal remains an active site of discovery. Access to the excavation itself is restricted, but from above, you can glimpse a carefully partitioned space where generations of history have been gently revealed. Down there, beneath layers of earth, countless treasures have surfaced, many now safeguarded in the museum nearby. Ceramic vessels, once shaped and held by human hands, were not empty offerings. They cradled objects of deep meaning: polished jade, seashells carried inland from distant coasts, sacred animal bones, and sheets of shimmering mica that caught the sun like trapped starlight. Most remarkable of all is green obsidian, a material found nowhere near Tazumal itself. Its presence tells a quiet but powerful story of long-distance exchange, linking this ancient city to the volcanic highlands of central Mexico. Every artifact whispers the same truth. Tazumal was never isolated. It was connected, spiritually, culturally, and commercially, to a much wider Mesoamerican world.
This flourishing epic met a dramatic interruption at its height. The cataclysmic eruption of the nearby Ilopango volcano in the 5th or 6th century CE devastated this region.
Ashfall, and climatic upheaval forced the abandonment of Tazumal, as well as many other sites across the Mayan world. Trade routes were severed, ecosystems destabilized, and entire communities were displaced in the aftermath of this immense disaster.
Centuries later, human activity returned to Tazumal, though it would never again reach the grandeur of its pre-classic zenith.
Rising to the southwest is Tazumal's second major structure, constructed during the late Classic period by people who returned and rebuilt after the massive Ilopango eruption, because resilience here runs deep. This building grew in 4 stages, with each generation literally building on top of the last. It sits on a rectangular platform and features the Talud tablero style, a clear architectural nod to Teotihuacan via Cominalhuyu, ancient Mesoamerica's version of shared design trends. Though still unrestored, you can clearly see the stairways climbing 3 wide terraces to a summit structure about 23 feet tall. At the top once stood a 3-room building arranged around a central courtyard, adding yet another layer of ritual, symbolism, and ambition to an already impressive site. This spot might look a little confusing at first, but that's part of the fun. Archaeologists believe this area may have been a ball court during the Classic period. One side has the regular architectural clues you'd expect, while the other side is literally built into the pyramid itself. That's unusual. But in Mesoamerica, unusual is normal. No 2 ball courts are ever exactly the same, so it being a ball court is still very much on the table. And the game itself? Imagine soccer and basketball had a child. For the Maya, the ball game was deeply symbolic, tied to cycles of life, death, and rebirth, and often linked to ritual and sacrifice. That seriousness is backed up by what was found here: an offering hidden in the ground, including a cylindrical vessel topped with a colorful bowl, filled with jade pieces and bird bones. Tazumal does have a classic eye-shaped Mesoamerican ball court, formed by 2 low platforms. However, they sit within the modern cemetery next door and remain unrestored. Quiet reminders that here, ancient ritual spaces and everyday life still exist side by side.
By 900 CE, Tazumal seems to have been abandoned again, perhaps driven by the collapse of major Mayan cities during the late Classic era.
Intriguingly, some of the earliest known metal artifacts in the Mayan region were unearthed at this very site, recovered from a late Classic tomb. Among the metallurgy were 3 finely crafted gold ornaments. Their presence opens a window into a world of possibilities, perhaps signaling long-distance connections with Lower Central America, or suggesting a later phase of reoccupation.
The precious metal found here might be linked to the people, that's P-I-P-I-L, as opposed to the Mayans. The people were a migratory group of Nahuatl descent who were believed to have settled here after the Mayans' departure.
As I step away from Tazumal, what lingers isn't just the scale of the stones or the precision of the carvings. It's the weight of continuity. This place was never static. It was built, altered, buried, rediscovered, and built again. It survived catastrophe, abandonment, and time itself. What stands here now is not just a ruin frozen in the past. It's a conversation across centuries between the people who shaped this land and those who still walk it today. Tazumal reminds us that El Salvador's story did not just begin with conquest or colonization. It began with communities who understood architecture as memory, ritual as order, and rebuilding as an act of hope. Fire came. Ash fell. Life paused, but it did not end. People returned. They almost always do. So when you leave this place, you don't just leave with facts or dates. You leave with perspective, with the understanding that civilizations don't disappear. They transform. And here, in the heart of Chalchuapa, that truth is written clearly in earth and stone. Tazumal isn't just a place you visit. It's a thing you carry with you forever.
The history here is nothing short of incredible, and I am so honored to have been here to see it.
Stay curious, be inspired, find freedom, wander elsewhere. I'll see you in the next one.